What is up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Hobby Hotline. This is episode number, 103. I think 103. Welcome to episode 103 of Hobby Hotline. Joining me today, of course, my name is Jeremy. We have Logan to my right on your screen, and we have Jeff Deafness down there. Good morning, fellas. How are you today?
Morning.
What's going on?
Another Saturday, ready to get at it.
Another episode of Hobby Hotline. All right, well, let's chat. We do have the call in. We have the call in link in the chat. Everybody, we have it on the ticker as well. Call in with your questions. Call in with your comments. We have a few topics to discuss. Let's kick it off, guys. Let's start with the baseball strike. The baseball strike and the potential impact on the hobby, if there is one. Logan, you gave a bit of a preview earlier that you might have a bit of a story to tell about this. So enlighten us. What do you got to tell us about the baseball strike and what might be happening as it pertains to our hobby?
Well, I'm going to go back to 1994 when they had the strike in 94. I was a big baseball fan. I was still collecting baseball cards back then. I loved baseball, and when they went on strike, it really, what's the word I can use here? It hurt my feelings, and I thought that here you have these millionaires and billionaires, and they're going on strike for, of course, it's all about money. That's what it's always about. And during that time, I was going to games and things, and you could see that the players just kind of got detached from the fans. There was not any interaction, things like that. So I kind of just got, disheartened with baseball and lost a lot of interest. And in fact, that's when I quit collecting baseball cards and went full-time collecting NASCAR cards. So that changed my hobby direction completely.
Wow, that's actually a pretty interesting story that's actually what put you into NASCAR as a collector versus baseball. I have a question, Jeff. I'll ask you.
Sure.
Like, the one thing I've been hearing other people talk about it, and a lot of people are scared and they're threatened by it as far as the hobby goes. I understand Logan's comments that it hurt his feelings. I mean, it hurt mine too. Yeah. I believe the Montreal Expos, as one of the two Canadian teams at the time, were poised to win it all that year, and that was stripped away from its fans and its fans across Canada. But I mean, there's the feeling of threat as far as the hobby goes. But right. What about, Jeff? Could it not be a potential buying opportunity where the savvy collector / investor might say, "Hey, I'm going to buy and hold because I know for a fact 100% eventually they're coming back and things are going to turn around and, people will not forget but move past it." So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, Jeremy, I agree on that stance where people who are able to sit on stuff for a while, because the issue with this strike is when they go on strike is we don't know how long this is going to last. Could this last a couple games? Could they not play it all this season and it could go into next season? We don't know. And the issue, as we all know, in any sport, as a collector, the way the prices fluctuate is usually based off of popularity, which is a lot of times based off performance, unless somebody's PC a player and it doesn't matter what they do on the field, off the field, on the court, off the court. But for those, I think this is a perfect time to take advantage. If you are somebody who is more in the investing side and has the ability or the opportunity to possibly sit on some baseball cards for a while, because yes, you're going to see the dips, right? They're not playing. We see that. It's like the stock market. It's no different. When players start going off, what do you see on all the social media pages? Every time some rookie or something finally has a big game, you see the stock rising up, little things next to their name, and people start buying. The search becomes real. Everybody out there is looking for this guy at that time. You're not going to see that when they're on strike because they're not playing. There's nothing happening We have no gauge on how the player's performing because they're not playing. So I think, yes, Jeremy, I think you're 100% correct. This would be a perfect time if you have the ability and you have the excess funds or whatever you want to do. Because I know there's some people out there that, even on an invest side or collect side, they're trying to buy and turn right away, right? They don't necessarily want to, some sit on it, but some want to buy, try to get a deal on something, score it, and then move it within the next couple weeks or a month. They're trying to take shots. They think this rookie's going to now get a spot start, or he's going to start starting. He's going to gain popularity, and then they're going to make that push and turn around while they're on the rise. So, Jeremy, I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, if it's a great opportunity at this time with them on strike to do that. Yes.
Yeah. And if you think back to the strike that Logan was referring to before, the one from the 94, 95 in there, I was thinking to myself, well, what could we have learned from then? Were there buying opportunities back then as well? Now, I'm sure there were, but it's a much, much different time in the hobby, right? Of course, there's no real eBay or grading, and there's no real rarity yet, right? The rarity comes after. Maybe it's the strike that was partially responsible, along with the junk wax era, partially responsible for the innovation and design we saw in the second half of the 90s, where now a couple things worked against the companies in the hobby, the manufacturers, and they had to become creative. And we're now left with what is one of the golden eras of the hobby, being that second half of the 90s as far as rare inserts and creativity goes. I wonder if we could see maybe a similar effect like that this time, where, when the companies come back, being, I guess, Fanatics and whoever they use to make cards, maybe there will be a golden era to come in the future. Logan, any recall, Logan, on kind of what the buying environment was like in the 94 strike?
I really don't recall. What I would have to say is that it's like what you said. The manufacturers got more creative because I'm sure, I'm just one person. I stopped buying baseball cards, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that stopped buying baseball cards back then. So I'm sure the manufacturers had to do something to entice people to come back, try to make baseball great again, and sell more cards. So I'm sure that was all part of it.
Yeah. Right. Well, Rich Frank, if I put this up before, he saw it coming for 6 months. And yeah, I agree. No one seemed to notice. It did sort of sneak up on me too. He's saying millionaires crying to billionaires over thousands. Normal folks don't like that. That's true. It does.
I agree with that.
Does annoy or perturb us normal earners, I guess you could say.
But you can also look at it this way too. I mean, we're not, they live a completely different lifestyle, right? It's like the value of $1 to a millionaire versus the value of $1 to some average folk like us, right, is completely different. Now, is it their choice that they go and live a different lifestyle, that millionaire lavish lifestyle? If they do, they have the $1 million houses, 10 cars, etc. That's what they do. But again, we got to think also, like, that's the way they live. That's how some of these guys have lived for years now. If they've already been in big contracts, trying to switch that or change that, they want to continue to live that lifestyle if they can, right? But I agree. I mean, I'm not someone who's, hey, we should be fighting over, 1,000 or $1 million when you're getting $120 million contract or whatever it is, or $100 million, whatever the case may be. But again, their value to $1 is different than it would be for us.
I saw I don't know, a headline or a quote somewhere that Max Scherzer will be making $15,000 per pitch.
That's crazy.
Per pitch, wow. $15K per pitch.
That's crazy.
In one out for three strikes, he's made what a lot of people make in a whole year. Okay, let's run through some comments. There's some good ones here. DH says, I was 8 when the 94 strike happened. On top of that, with the hockey lockout that same time, it was a rough sports year. Yeah, no doubt. It certainly was. 1 million Cubs completely stopped collecting baseball when the 94 strike occurred, but I had already turned my focus on basketball in 92-3. The home run chase brought me back. Yeah, the home run chase, that was definitely an integral time. Rich Frank moved from baseball to comic books because of the strike. Dan says, what would you say that buying up boxes or definitely not boxes. I mean, I don't think a strike impacts boxes whatsoever. Yeah. The opportunities are where you actually know what you're buying, not where you don't know what you're buying. So the opportunities are definitely in individual cards.
And maybe looking at some of those guys that have already signed like this season on that, if they're going into spots where you feel like you want to take that shot, if you're going to buy now and kind of sit on it, some of these guys landing these contracts, that are moving to different teams. If you feel like they're getting into contention teams, if they do at some time play this season, you can take different angles with it as always.
Yeah. Rich says it took 20 years for cards to come back. I don't know if it took 20, but if that's what slowed it down for 20, but good observation. DH thought about going to a card show today to sell, but cannot see anyone buying right now. I don't know. Card people to me are pretty much always buying. Now, baseball is only one of the sports within the overall hobby. So if you only have baseball, then I could see not doing that.
And baseball isn't hockey, right, Jeremy?
What's that?
Baseball isn't hockey, right, Jeremy?
No, they are not the same. They both use these.
Throw it out there, hockey guy.
They both use pieces of wood, but no, they're not the same. Ziggy says no impact at this point, in my opinion. Well, I mean, there is an impact already because DH himself did not go to a card show to sell because of it, which is an effect of it. But I do agree that the impact will come a little bit down the road once prices have a chance to be impacted by the lack of interest by fans. We got Rex Gotcher from the shop at Moco. Good morning, Rex. Great to have you. We are on the big screen, fellas. 1 million says no impact right now and won't be unless the lockout creeps into mid-January. That's when negative impact begins. Of course, this is exactly true, right? If they settle this before spring training, there's no impact to the hobby at all. Maybe a very small blip right now because some people are pissed off and they just don't, they're mad about millionaires and billionaires. So I could see that. Ziggy says, can you give examples of what to buy and wholly because of strike? What to buy?
Hold, I'm not sure hold.
Buy and hold. I mean, for me, now it might not be in December. You need to see prices decline. But if they do, then what I would buy would be players who you think are going to be great in the future on the field, whose prices are less now than they were, last summer through last week, basically. That's what I would be buying. It's pretty simple to me. It's to me it is anyway. I mean, right? Like it kind of it's pretty Foul Flyball says the off season is the perfect time to strike. Exactly. Now you couple the off season with the strike and the impact of that. You might have the perfect buying storm. Actually,
that's a good comment right there. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. DH is right. Pinnacle had some wild stuff in the 90s. Brad says buy all the baseball cards now.
In caps. He's screaming at us.
Didn't 95 Finest come out post-strike? I couldn't comment on that. Anyone remember?
Logan, you remember?
I don't remember because I quit by then.
That's right. You were already.
Let's see. Tom says, life slowed me down more than the strike in the early 90s. Marriage, kids. Personally, I think the hobby is due for a correction in general, not necessarily due to strikes. See, that's an interesting comment because it seems to me like the hobby has had the correction that it needed. If you just look at the curve of the hobby from 2019 till December 2021, it's a nice steady increase, like there is a bit of but if you take out Q1 of 2021 where you had that big bump, the correction, I'm not saying it can't correct more, but we've already certainly had a correction. So now, this, whatever the impact of the strike is, we'll know more about that in the future, obviously. But I don't know. I mean, this hobby could blow up still, just because of the fanatics and their reach and their marketing and store cards everywhere. But anyway, I'm sure we've talked enough about that over the past couple of months. Foul Fireball didn't stop collecting, but did slow down. Rex says, definitely opportunities to buy Bowman boxes. Okay. Good morning, Jenny Miller. Hobby Champ says, definitely didn't take 20 years. I have made money in the hobby nonstop since 2003. There's always arbitrage. Very true. You just have to be savvy. You just have to have a good eye. And if you are not finding opportunities, well, I mean, that's fine too, but there are, and the savvier, more experienced collectors, I think will find that very good. Rich Frank here's that minor league is still going to play, so that could help a little bit as far as prospects go. Daniel Ogilvy stopped collecting in the 94 strike and then picking back up now with his kids. That's great. Get the kids involved. Speaking of kids, on my show, Sports Cards Live tonight, I have Brody the Kid, who's one of our co-hosts, as my guest. And we're going to be talking about, how to get kids involved, but not just get them involved, keep them involved. I think that's even a little bit more key. Good morning again to Brad. He's at the Dallas Card Show, so watching on and off. Well, Brad, we'd love a report if you're watching right now on what is the feel in the room. Are people buying, selling? What's going on there? Sitting behind the booth. All right. DH is buying baseball prospects as low as he can right now. So it is having an impact. People are already responding, which is right? It's a somewhat of an efficient market. So that makes sense. Rich Frank, cards did not get hot till when? 08 to 11. I mean, I don't know. I remember it just depends. But in 05, they really, in 03 with LeBron and then 05 with Crosby and Ovechkin for hockey, things started to turn back on quite a bit. All right, guys, that's we're at the bottom of the comments for that. Any final comments on the baseball strike, guys?
Well, I'm just amazed. I thought maybe I was like in the minority of the people that were affected by the 94 strike, but looking at these comments, there's a lot of people that were impacted for sure. I'm not glad to see that. I hate that people were impacted, but it does, it makes me feel a little bit better that I wasn't the only one that was negatively impacted by that.
Yeah,
and I think another thing to add too, you just touched on having Brody on talking about how to keep kids in, like these kids that look up to these baseball players, the younger generation kids, that are maybe just slowly getting into it, 8 years old, 10 years old, whatever. That in itself too probably plays and has an impact if they don't play, right? Because if they're trying to get into it now or they just started to, and baseball's like, maybe baseball's their main sport. Maybe they're not into all of the sports, right? Maybe that's their main sport. That could also have a big impact if they don't play because they're not seeing those guys on the field. They're not watching games. All they can watch is previous highlights from previous games, previous seasons, etc. So, I don't know.
All right, final comment. Then we do have a caller. DH says in 0506 he got back into Chase, Crosby, Ovechkin, and later Stamkos, which was 0809, and that's an important thing, right? One generational player has to come along, and then all of a sudden you've got a lot of people back in hockey. We experienced that in 0506, and again in 2015 when Connor McDavid came into the league, a ton of people came into the hobby because of that. Okay, let's bring out our caller. We have Brad, your Texas card dude.
Buddy.
What is going on this morning?
What is up, everybody? How are y'all doing? Man, it is so good to aggravate everybody. I'm actually just sitting here at the booth, just having so much fun.
Where are you at the moon or what? What's going on here, buddy?
I'm in freaking Dallas, Texas at the Dallas Card Show and having
well,
a
good
blast,
morning to you,
man.
too.
I see how you are. What's going on, man? I thought I'd call in and aggravate everybody. See, Jeremy had asked how the room was. The room's crisp right now. It just started probably about 20 minutes ago, so it's a little crisp, going fairly well.
What are the vendors kind of saying? Like, what are their expectations for the show today?
Optimistically positive. This is the smaller of the Dallas Card Show. It's not the huge one. It's the 100+ table. It's not the 600, 700 big one. And it's not like the big bad boy with everybody here. You've got Dallas Card Investors, probably the biggest booth here. And the rest of it is it's a typical 100 table show. It's a smaller show. So it hopefully it won't. There's actually a trade night tonight. That will be very interesting to see. I'll do some reporting on that later and give everybody some heads up as how that goes. It will be my very first trade night ever to attend. So that will be interesting.
Are you wearing a Philadelphia Eagles hat, Brad?
That would never happen. Shame on you. And don't ever say anything like that again. A freaking I burn everything for there's not even a Philadelphia Eagles anything at my booth. It's not allowed. Okay. So don't even.
Well, speaking of what we're wearing, today wasn't my regularly scheduled appearance on Hobby Hotline. It was supposed to be John Newman, but with some scheduling conflicts, he had to bow out. So I tagged in, but because I tagged in, I thought I'd wear my Sports Card Nation.
Oh man, I should have done that. Dang
it.
Dang it. Now I'm wearing, there we go. How about them Cowboys from the I go vintage today. If you're gonna walk the walk, Cowboys? You better talk the talk, brother. That's what I'm
Brad,
saying.
We're gonna go for another 35 minutes or so, but if you have a chance towards the end to let us know what the action's like. I'm curious again if the dealers, the vendors there are positively or cautiously optimistic, however you put it. That's great. Have you noticed a lot of them kind of going back and forth, a lot of sort of pre-show opening vendor to vendor dealings?
No, that's what's awesome. I mean, usually when that's going on, then there's not a lot of people looking or buying, but actually there's a lot of people looking and buying. And so the people are just kind of warming up, getting warm. And there wasn't a lot of pre-show buying like there was at the big one that you were at earlier. So I'm optimistic. We're having fun. There's kids here, man. There's kids behind table. There's a table here with nothing but kids running the table. I am free. Cool. Like it's directly across from me. They're doing a raffle. I'm stoked that there's kids behind a booth, man. How awesome is that? That is so cool.
Turn your camera over there. It's got to be better looking than you.
Wow. I see how you are. I see how you are. Wow. I come in and I try to be nice and all that. I see. Wait. You just wait.
All right, Brad. We're gonna keep on. Thank you so much. Call back in if you got something new to report. If the vibe changes or if it gets stronger, let us know. Or if it gets weaker, we're curious.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Later, buddy.
All right. We're gonna run through some quick comments here. Good morning to Michael Ham. Good morning to Jenny Miller. Rex says lots of kids are playing baseball, playing MLB, the show, and collecting cards, but there's so much room to grow. I agree. Definitely room to grow. 1 million Cubs says Rich. 98 cards were fire. Home run chase. McGuire 85 tops for $200. Yes. Jenny Miller, forgive me. Remind me Deafness's name. I want to ask him if he's coming to St. Cloud. His name is
Jeff. First name is Jeff. I will not be at the St. Cloud show, unfortunately.
He will not be at the St. Cloud show. Okay, let's go to the next topic, guys. We're trying to budget the right amount of time for each one. So we have we have two more topics that we thought of. They're both related to the same entity in the hobby as far as hobby news goes. Let's start with the less juicy of the two, at least in my opinion, which is rumors that PSA will be opening up another service level imminently here. I think Nat Turner was heard saying on another podcast somewhere that something is going to be happening. I've seen people kind of guessing what the standard service will open at, whether it's $100 a card, $90, whatever it may be. What have you guys heard about this, if anything? Jeff, anything you've heard?
I don't really have much to report on this PSA opening another level. To me, as far as on an impact level, as far as personal, doesn't really do a lot either way for me personally. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that are big into sending cards to PSA. I'm not the biggest PSA guy. I don't take most of my stuff and send it in, especially not to PSA. I'm not going to wait 2 years to get it back. I mean, I still got a bunch of cards that are there that were a year and a half ago, like everybody else, still waiting for them to come back. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot on this. Logan, you might be better with the whole PSA.
Yeah.
Well, guys, sorry, Logan, I just got to jump in because if this is true, Ziggy No just posted $95 announced today. So if that is true, I don't see why it wouldn't be. Now we have more information to work with. Right. Logan, pick it up. But if you could add to your comments, like, does $95 does that incentivize you to send in cards that you might have been waiting on for prices to come down? Is this going to move cards from you're kind of waiting to get graded to now you're going to do a submission at all?
Nope, I will not be doing a submission. I'm going to wait till value comes back. I saw on a podcast the other night that Nat Turner was talking about he does want to get the prices down lower. So, people can, regular people, I guess I should say, can submit cards at a better price. What I collect is just not worth sending in at $95 a card. I mean, there's only a handful of NASCAR cards that I can think of that I would even consider doing that. The bulk of what I have is, has always been sent in with value on value submissions.
Yeah, it's interesting. That makes sense. And I'm in pretty much the same boat as you, Logan, where, 95 for me for a bunch of cards that I'd like to get graded is still too high. I need that $30 level for it to make sense to me. But if you think about the greater hobby, even at $150 a card, they were still getting inundated with submissions. You saw it firsthand at the National.
Mm-hmm.
Just how busy they were there at $150 a card, or $300 a card, I believe it was at the National. So $150 did not disincentivize so many people from sending in so many cards. 95, they are. It's like when the Feds just tweak the interest rate by 25 basis points. It has a big overall impact. So this movement, they're basically reducing the price by a third, and it's going to have a big impact on their submissions, even though it might not impact the two of us or the three of us. Even we haven't heard from Jeff yet, but I mean, I think it's going to have an impact. How about you, Jeff? What do you think?
So again, yeah, well, I think like we just touched on, I mean, that the whole thing, like Logan, I'm not going to be sending anything in. I'm not going to be doing anything. I mean, the impact, yeah, of course it's going to have an impact. I mean, again, I think Logan hit it on the head just by saying if he's going to send anything in, he's going to wait till there is more value there. I mean, there has to be. That just 95 is still too high for me. Even you saying, them getting a bunch at 300 at the National or even 150, like still for most people, for a lot of people, I'm using the wrong verbiage here, but for a lot of people, that's still not feasible for. So, yeah.
And you got to look too at the PSA set registry as well, because they want to have people, that's their secret sauce. They want to have people collect cards in the set registry. They want people to buy, or get 1986 Topps baseball card commons graded, and you're not going to do that at $95 a card. So at some point they've got to get those prices down to incentivize people to grade those lower cards and to compete in the registry.
For sure. Yeah, agree with that.
And do we know what the turnaround time is at that 95? Like someone actually had that question in the chat as well. Do we know at 95 is there any guaranteed turnaround time with that?
I haven't seen the news firsthand, so I'm not sure what it is, but you have to think that it's, it's going to be in that, I don't know how long their turnaround times are right now, because I haven't sent something in for a couple years, right. But I'm guessing you're in that like 9 to 12 month range, but that's completely a guess. So Not sure at this point. Going to go to a couple of quick comments here, off topic, but just to get this one out. DH, do I think Connor Bedard is the next future superstar to chase in hockey once he's drafted? I don't know. I have never seen him play, but I've heard about him, and hey, maybe he will be, and hopefully he's going to be a great prospect for people to collect.
And going back to real quick to that whole sending in and paying $95, right? Like, and waiting 9-10 months, if that's really it, or maybe longer. Some of the stuff you send in may not have any type of real good value to paying that as well. You know what I mean? Like, injuries happen, players, the success isn't there, etc. So, it's that risk as always, like we take, but I don't know. I'm not sending anything in. And I mean, I think you're sitting on you're hoping that cards you're sending in are going to stay. I mean, if it's someone who's a retired player or, LeBron James or somebody that has that built presence that no matter what happens, unless he was to go be a murderer or something, he's going to stay, his value is going to stay there. I mean, eventually, and then when he hits that Hall of Fame, it's gonna probably move up again. So, you know, I don't know. That's
It
kind of
all
my
comes
little
it really
added
comes
2
down
cents.
to it really comes down to like a cost benefit analysis. What's the value of the
Right.
card you're sending in? Does it make
Mhm.
sense? If the grade like there's actually probably psychologically like a certain uh threshold, like what percent of the value of the card are you willing to spend on grading before you're going to send it in? Like if your card is worth $100, are you going to spend $100 to grade it? No, I don't think that makes sense. That's
Mhm.
100%. If your card is worth $1,000, are you going to spend 95 to 10% of that amount? Are you going to spend that to get it graded? Is that comfortable for people? Do you want it to be 5%, or are you comfortable in that higher 25%? If your card's
Right.
worth $500, are you going to spend 100? Is 20% the right kind of rate? Ratio? I don't know. It'll be different for everybody, but I think a lot of people, without even realizing it, kind of think of it that way when they're assessing which cards to send in at what rates. So Rex says $30 at 30 days from SGC still makes the most sense to me. That's a great turnaround time and a great
It is.
rate. Tom
Mhm.
says I have a slew of cards I've been waiting to send in. 95, still a bit excessive. So it's interesting because even the wording is still a bit excessive, meaning that he's kind of thinking about it, but he's not quite there. So is 75 the right price for him? And when that price comes down there, does that open the floodgates? Like what does, they've just reduced the price to grade by 30%. Forget about the turnaround time. A lot, it's 30%. Now, if they go to
Right.
from 95 to 75, that's basically a 20% drop. Is a 20% drop going to have more impact than a 33% drop did? Because now we're down in the $75 level. I guess time will tell. Matt Jones says good morning, and good morning to you. Ziggy says adding card ladder to the registry, does that help? I mean, that is our next topic. So we'll come back to that one for sure. Rex says, if when PSA opens bulk service, I can't imagine they'll get anywhere close to a 30-day turnaround. It's going to take a while for that for sure, if at all. Ziggy only saw the price, not the time. Few subbers were selected. Mine is waitlisted. So I guess it's only open to certain group subbers. I guess we got to read it to find out a bit more. But seems like there's a few caveats to the service level that was opened. DR says, at what point in 2022 do we see massive consolidation among the grading space? Tough to say. But I think you're going to see some, especially with some of the new companies that have some nice technologies potentially being acquired. GT Black, turnaround time can be an absolute killer on your value, of course, because you don't know. But it could also have the reverse impact. People who had their cards stuck at PSA in 2020 that got them out in early 2021 were benefited by their cards being held there for so long because they couldn't sell them low. And so it works both ways, right? Michael Ham says SGC still the best value and turnaround time. Lots of comments, guys. Thank you for that. Rex, 90 days is a lifetime in the and 270 days to 365 is even more of a lifetime. That's a death sentence. It could be considered that.
Right.
Right. All right, lots of comments here. Victor, welcome, says hit that like button, folks. Well, he actually says to smash it. Thank you, Victor. We always appreciate that. Hobby Champs, I think card ladder may be used by PSA to determine tiered bulk rates. There has been some talk as to how they're going to integrate or use card ladder for some of the I guess benefits that they'll bring to PSA overall. Okay, we're almost at the bottom of the comments here, guys. Let's see what Rex says. The biggest problem with current pricing and turnaround times is that the value of modern cards fluctuates wildly. It ends up creating inequities in the market. See Donruss, Space, Mac Jones. But for every story or situation where you see a problem, there are also some opportunities. But I think most people see the problems, and you just don't want your cards locked up. You want, if nothing else, you just want the option to hold or to sell, right? But you can't sell it if you don't have it in hand. So definitely hear it. 10 to 12 week turnaround time, says Michael Ham, for the new $95 tier. Well, that's not terrible if that's the actual turnaround time. 3 months
For
isn't
3 months, yeah.
That's not bad at all, I would say.
Much better than 9 months to a year.
And then
year and a half.
Foul Five Ball says PSA and grading is such a scam. I mean, I completely disagree with that comment. But anyway, Okay, so let's go to the next topic, guys, that we have, which is collectors. So I'm now going to start because I did see Nat on Friday night or on Thursday night, I guess it was, on the crossover on Instagram with Chris and Josh, two of the founders of Card Ladder. I did see him on there, and he was pretty clear that the way they look at their company is they don't call it Collectors Universe anymore. He said that was the name of the public company, and it's not a public company anymore. So they now refer to them as the parent company, the headship there as Collectors. So Collectors, being also owning PSA, acquires Card Ladder, one of the, if not the leading data tool in the hobby space. The other notables or notable that I'm aware of being Sports Card Investors, Market Movers. Chris on his show the other night did make an interesting comment. He said, if you go and look at the most popular data tool on the internet by, I think he said, if you use Alexa as some sort of website that'll tell you what websites are the busiest on the internet. He said that Card Ladder is has the most web traffic of any of the data tools. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. So anyway, that was pretty big news. I think some people probably would say they saw it coming. It took me by surprise when I heard about it, but thoughts from you guys, Jeff.
Yeah. So Jeremy, question for you on that whole it being the busiest as far as traffic goes. Is that just more recent since this news of Collectors acquiring Card Ladder? Do you know, or has that been something for some time as being like the busiest traffic wise?
Yeah, I think it was historically. I think it's just, and you have to consider this. When they're doing their deal, that's when these sorts of metrics come out and are analyzed and are used as negotiating tactics. So, I mean, that was my understanding of the context of the comment. I mean, we were only one day.
Somebody even if this Card Ladder wasn't, say, the busiest, but they had a lot of potential, and a large company like this sees it and says, hey, we bring this in, we know we can make this thing boom, ton more. It has the potential, maybe, right? Not necessarily having to be the most sought off, searched, what have you, to land deals. That's why I just kind of asked. I didn't know if they stood there pretty for a while or if this was just more recent with the news as far as traffic kind of upticking, if you will.
Right. No, I totally understand that. And I mean, I think you're right that, what Collectors sees in that and what Nat Turner sees in Card Ladder is maybe not the current revenue, because I have no idea what it is. Both companies are private. We're never going to find out. We'll likely never find out what they were acquired for, what the deal is. But I do know that, they've been acquired. The founders of Card Ladder will become employees of Collectors and will continue to run their business or their division as they always have. It's going to be agnostic, which I heard Nat say. I think it's very important in that, they're not going to favor PSA cards when they're doing what they're doing. They're going to continue to do what they're doing. And I think one of the coolest thing is that, the founders, these are people of integrity, and they're going to, I'm going to assume and hope, and I think I'm right, that they're going to continue to be people of integrity, and they're going to just share the data as they get it. I know one of the things Collectors really likes about it is that they vet the data. They just don't take any data from eBay and other places and put it in. They wait until these things have been paid for. Even if you look at their sales history on Card Ladder, you see cards sales being added to their database like a week after the card ended on, say, Golden or PWCC or Heritage or Memory Lane or one of the auction houses, Robert Edwards, because that's when they've received verification that the card was actually paid for. So to me, it's easily some of the best data available to the hobby. It's vetted, and so I think what Collectors is buying is, first of all, they're buying the platform, they're buying the technology, but they're also buying the people. They're buying the people there, and of course, the people can leave at any time. But I think that there must be some sort of stay on clause for the founders for at least a certain amount of time. But we'll see. Any comments from you guys?
I mean, it looks like, this is, I haven't really dove into card ladder much at all, really hearing about it now and just kind of looking over some things, the free versus the monthly, et cetera, what you get, what you get with free, what you don't. But it looks like really what they ultimately are trying to do here is more or less create a all-in-one, one-stop shop for pretty much every angle that you would utilize in the hobby, right? I mean, putting your collection in if you want values anywhere and everywhere to search to find cards, tracking the value and the estimated value of your collection if you enter it all in there. I mean, just about anything and everything. So, I mean, it's definitely, it looks like a pretty awesome tool. It looks like, I'm assuming as well, like we just talked, like with collectors coming and getting involved, I mean, this thing is going to make a much bigger boom. I think we're going to hear a lot more about it, and more people are going to reference it and talk about it. I think you're going to hear that more in hobby streams all over the place. This will probably be a name that's brought up a lot. So people will say, yeah, I was on Card Ladder or reference to Card Ladder, blah, 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 this, so, yeah, I think it's just looking at it overall. I mean, I think it's looks like it's an awesome website, can be an awesome all-in-one tool, one-stop shop, pretty much for everything. So,
yeah, no, it is a good tool. I've been using it since it released, and it is a really good tool if you want good data. Not that I'm not saying that there are no other options out there for good data, but I think their data, because they vet it, is very good. I'm going to go to some comments and questions here, because I do see some coming in. DR says, if you could invent a hobby related company, what would it be? Yeah, I mean, that's a fun question to think of. I know a lot of people are talking about a master population report, something that, you got GemRate, which does a great job of showing you how quick and how fast cards are being graded and what sport and category and all that sort of thing. So, but an overall pop report that brings in all the big companies would be something that I think would be pretty cool. Do you guys have any thoughts on anything come to mind for you guys?
As far as just if I did a hobby related, if like personally and try to invent a hobby related company, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have a couple of different things, and I don't really want to.
Yeah,
I'm hopefully trying to be in the works of some things, and I don't really want to say too much about it.
Fair enough.
I don't want nothing's like patented or anything like that. I don't want to be
you don't want someone to steal your idea.
I don't want to release that, but yeah, I guess I'm just gonna go with the. I'll stay no comment on that.
How about you, Logan?
I'd like to see, since I'm a big set registry guy, I would like to see like a global registry that would encompass, not just PSA, but Beckett and SGC, all the grading companies, and you could have a set in there, with just a conglomeration of different
slabs. Yeah,
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right, let's go to Kevin. Says, why does PSA need to have its hand in pricing in pricing the market? Well, it really simple answer to that is because it's an added service for their members. So if you're on the set registry and you want to put a value to your cards instead of the SMR value, which goes in right now, which the SMR value is pretty much irrelevant. It's not reality. Now you're going to get an actual value. So it's a very good reason why they want their hand in it. It's not that they want to do anything nefarious with it. It's a service to offer their customers to integrate it with the set registry. I think it makes perfect sense, and it's the people who make these decisions are smarter than most of us, I would have to think. So they see value in it. They're paying money for it, so they obviously see reasons to do it. They're not just They're not just handing out charity. And so I think that's one of the biggest reasons why, Kevin, and I know it is because that's pretty much what Nat said, what they like about it. Ziggy says, Card Ladder monitors auction houses. Wonder if they will continue since they are part of Golden. So they're not part of Golden. That's just not a fact whatsoever. Collectors owns Golden. Collectors owns Card Ladder. But it's been very clearly said on numerous occasions already that Card Ladder will continue to monitor every auction house that is willing to help them feed them data. And they're up to like 13 of them, I believe. So they will definitely be doing that. DR is waiting for someone to launch a for-profit card collecting college. I bet it happens. Yeah. I mean, A card collecting college for sure. Foul Fireball back on grading says $95 for 20 seconds of grading. Again, something that is just completely not true. It's not 20 seconds of grading. If you look at PSA's website, you see how many steps the card has to go through. They're going through several people's hands, several different stations, if you will. You're also buying the slab. There's a cost to the slab. There's a cost to everything involved. So to say $95 for 20 seconds of grading is just a little, I don't know if that's
and then you could say this. Yeah, Jeremy. Then you could say the slab is like 10 cents or 5 cents or whatever. But that's irrelevant because everything we buy and everything we do that things are built with it's all cheap from the get go. It's what's involved in it. It's the process.
Exactly.
And everything else.
Exactly. There's a whole process. If you really have any business experience, you'll know that it's not $95 for 20 seconds of grading. It's $95 for a whole slew of events that have to occur for that card to go from receiving at their facility to shipping it out. Ziggy says there has never been any proof of how they've had their data. Just trusting two guys. You can confirm any. Yeah, you can confirm all their data. It's Ziggy. I mean, Ziggy, you're just not really opening your eyes to reality there. They've always. And it's not just trusting two guys because everything that they put out there as far as their data is linkable back to what actually happened. Rich says, I have DR bills to pay. What is a good auction house to use? I use Pristine, but I have a few issues, so I need a new auction house. I mean, there's lots of them. There's lots of auction houses. Any of the ones mentioned, I would recommend. Tyler, I feel like Josh and Christina haven't slept since they started Card Ladder. They definitely earned what they are getting. They did a great job. And I mean, if some of the, if the people that own collectors see value in what they're doing and want to integrate that service into their service, into the PSA website, and they're going to remain agnostic, meaning they are going to continue to report all other auction houses and other grading companies, which they will. They've said it outright that they're going to do that. I mean, they definitely earned it, and the service is going to be. It's like I think one of you guys was saying. It's really going to become, I think, sort of the new Beckett as far as people valuing their cards. Not that the Beckett magazine has been that instructive over the past few years, but I think Card Ladder, because they're using real data, is going to be like you were saying, Jeff. You're going to hear people referring to it over and over and all the time. So
I think instead of like a lot of people always say eBay comps, right? Like that's a word you hear often from people, like when they're looking at values and stuff. I think this will in turn over time really take over that. You'll still hear that, but yeah.
GT Black says I could see eBay restricting access to a lot of their data when they realize how much money it's worth. They already know that, and I think they're already restricting access to their data. So, but I mean, when you have an auction and the price is right there to see, unless they delete their history and their sold items, but if they do that, eBay will just go away as far as the hobby goes, because the hobby needs that. I think eBay is smart. Well, maybe they're not smart enough. They've done some really silly things in the past, which has alienated many in the hobby. So tough to say. Any other thoughts or comments, guys, on this this acquisition? And just congrats to the founders of Card Ladder. Obviously, they've put some money in the bank. They've locked up a nice, secure position of employment now with collectors. So I want to congratulate them. Well deserved, well earned, people of integrity, and who are just really looking to help the hobby and help it grow even by providing vetted and accurate data. So I'm happy for them.
I think this is going to add a lot value to the Collectors Club membership. You'll be able to get pricing. Not only that, I think it's going to be great when they integrate it into the set registry, to where I can go in there and click on a set that I've got and get like, I won't say it's real time, but like near real time value of what things are going for in that set. So I can get a clear picture of that. And I like that. But, Card Ladder, they've got a daunting task ahead of them. That they've got to expand, and they're going to expand their list of cards that they're tracking to probably literally almost everything that PSA has graded and then some.
Well,
So
that's the thing right there, Logan, and that's what this acquisition allows for. No longer is it 2 or 3 people, what they call researchers, in there and vetting all this data. Now they will now have the resources to build out a team, probably have, a department of comp researchers, card, price researchers, who are going to be in communication with the auction houses, verifying that sales went through, all that sort of thing. They're going to grow. They're at like 19,000 cards in their database, which is really a drop in the bucket compared to even what Market Movers has. I think they've got well over 100,000, but it's not going to take long now. Well, it's going to take a few months. They have to hire, they have to train, and then they have to get to work to blow that up from, just under 20,000 to 500,000 to 200,000, 500,000. But it's going to happen now much quicker than it would have before. So, I mean, it's only going to make the resources available now to Card Ladder are only going to make Card Ladder better over time and more useful for many more people. I think what they'll probably just go through the PSA set registry one set at a time and add all the cards from those, so that, like you said, Logan, you'll be able to go into your set registry account on the PSA website and get your Card Ladder valuation, which, they're also going to be able to link up to make it easier to fill in missing spots on your checklist, so that you can go, just click the shop button and it's going to be a better result than you're getting right now. So yeah, I think it's going to be really a wonderful thing, as far as especially to the benefit of PSA set registry users.
Yeah, Josh told Nat told Josh the other day, hey, you guys need to be hiring as many people. You have the green light to hire as many people as you can to get this really, really going.
Yeah. So, I heard him say that too. He basically said, hire as fast as you can. And the problem isn't hiring. That's not the bottleneck in all this. The bottleneck right now is training, and that goes for grading and everything else. And that makes a lot of sense, So
right,
it's just going to take time, guys. We'll, if just like anything, in a couple of years, we'll look back and say, yeah, they had a tough time. The industry had a tough time, but the industry overcame it, and everything's a process. If you just you look over your life, everything is a process, right? Go to a couple comments. Jim says F1 qualifying will start in 10 minutes. Thank you for the reminder to set my PVR for the race. Tyler says, Rich, I know a lot of people have REA, myself included, Robert Edwards Auctions. I buy cards from them a couple times a year. Check out REA. Rich Frank is golden, only big items. I think for the most part it has been so far, but their new platform will likely be opening up to some lower end items as well. Yeah, Rich, REA is Robert Edward Auctions. Check it out. DR, we did talk about the lockout, so just please rewind. That was the first topic we hit, so you'll be able to rewind and see what we were mentioning there. DR, and the various points were made by us and the chat. And Frank says, I have some nice mid-end stuff. My top stuff already went out to Pristine and paid some bills. Well, good for you. Always nice to use the hobby to pay a few bills if you can, and balance out your life. So, guys, we're almost going to wrap up this episode. Any final comments on collectors acquiring Card Ladder or any of the other topics? Jeff, you're shaking your head. Nothing from you. How about you, Logan? Any final comments?
No, I'm good. I think we touched on.
I think it's a brilliant move by collectors. I think they did well by getting Card Ladder. It's going to be good.
Yeah, same here. I look forward to once it's fully integrated with our website. And I love that it's going to be agnostic. I think that's important. That's what the hobby needs. So that's good news. And of course, wish them well. And I'm sure they will build out a great team. So, okay, well, we're getting the final comment in the chat. So I guess we'll wrap this up. DR, appreciate that. Have a great day yourself. GT Black, thank you for tuning in. So I guess we'll wrap up, guys.
Cool.
And again, I did stand in here today for John Newman. That's why I'm wearing his Sports Card Nation. The Hobby is the People podcast. Keep that in mind as you move forward, everybody. Tonight on my show, Sports Cards Live, Brody the Kid will be joining. We got lots of stuff to talk about. Excited for that. So please join us tonight on the Sports Cards Live YouTube channel. Tyler says, Just glad collectors bought them and not fanatics. Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough for sure. Thanks again, Tyler. Matt Jones, thanks for a great show. See you tonight. Appreciate that, Matt. We'll see you tonight. Logan, Jeff, awesome to host Hobby Hotline with you guys today on this December the 4th, 2021. Guys, remember, Hobby Hotline is now Tuesday nights in addition to the regular Saturday morning. And that is it. We are going to sign off. So everybody have a great week ahead and hope to see you tonight on Sports Cards Live again with Brody the Kid.
Good night, y'all.